Good afternoon and welcome back, everybody. It's Dan Sheets with Down in the Den 734, back at it with another video here for you guys for top 5 prospects in a certain skill position group. And today we're doing off-the-ball linebackers. I distinctly put off-the-ball linebackers because I wanted to make sure I excluded individuals that were kind of walking up on the line and going off of the edge. The big player that is going to be missed in these two top fives that I've done for both edge rushers and off-ball linebackers is going to be Jalen Walker, mainly because he is an on-the-line, walked-up linebacker, technically an edge rusher, but I didn't even put him in my top 5 edge rushers because I felt like I wanted those edge rushers to be traditional, hand-in-the-dirt type defensive end players. So for this group, I'm going straight off the ball linebackers, guys who are the monsters in the midway, your cerebral leaders of the defense. And these are 5 that I believe we should be targeting and looking heavily into going into this year's 2025 draft. So without further ado, let's jump in and start with my number 1. And again, I want to make sure I preface this at all times, just because this is what I think, right? Doesn't mean it's what you think or anybody else, but this would be where I would prioritize in terms of who I put in here. So starting off number 1, Demetrius Knight, 6'2", 245, sneaky athletic, based on what I saw, in film, the combine, everything kind of came together for me, and the leadership aspects that, you see in the film, insane locker room guy. I think there's a lot of really good things about Demetrius Knight that I could see being quite impactful for an NFL defense. And even if he doesn't come in, start right away, he's going to get rotation play. And if he doesn't get rotation play, he will be a starter in the future. This guy is that good. And I really feel like, a lot of the other motivations, outside his personal life, I think all that's going to also feed into the fact that he's going to become a quintessential pro. Like, he is going to be a pro and do very well in the league. So 2024 stats coming in: 82 tackles, 57 solo, 2 sacks, 1 interception, 3 forced fumbles. And I got a couple of notes on here: insane intensity, tone setter, freak motor, defensive leader, right? I already kind of hit on the leadership aspects, but his teammates love the guy. Great locker room attitude. And you're going to see that, in a lot of the interviews he does, and then his teammates do about him. So without further ado, let's get into some film and actually see what this guy's bringing to the table on tape. He is a traditional Mike linebacker. I think he can play outside linebacker, but I think that he is more the cerebral guy in the middle, calling your defense, setting everything up, kind of quarterbacking the defense, if you will. And that's a few guys that I've got in this list that I feel like could do that. He could go outside linebacker, and I think that he's got the versatility to do so because like I said, sneaky athletic, but also just has a versatility about him. I love the way he closes to the ball. That man, he sees ball, goes and gets ball, and he'll fill the gap right there. I mean, no hesitation. Read downhill, kept his eyes, shoulders square to the line, and just came in and delivered a blow in the hole. Now, again, I don't think that he's the most athletic guy at this position in the draft coming up, and he's definitely not the best, right? But because there's going to be other Mike linebackers that probably fit other teams' needs, but for the Detroit Lions, I feel like this guy could be awesome. I feel like that right there is an incredible play that fits to what I'm just about to tell you. We need someone who comes in nasty, aggressive, and delivers hits like that. Gets turnovers, and really does it instinctively. And I think he does. So, moving on to our next guy. This is another dude who I feel like this 1-2 spot could be pretty much interchangeable. Chris Paul Jr. I love this guy. Watching film on him was fun. I think that he is a fun to watch. It's like get your popcorn ready when he's on the field. And he too is a traditional, Mike linebacker, quarterback of the defense. 6'1", 235, 86 tackles, 48 of them solo, 3.5 sacks, 1 interception, and I believe he's got a pair, so it's 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. Defensive snaps was fairly high for a linebacker out there. Tough player with quick twitch, high motor individual. I think he's going to adapt well to the NFL game. And he, to me, has higher ceiling than, say, Demetrius. I think Demetrius has the opportunity to come in and be a perennial pro, whereas Chris Paul could see himself like Pro Bowl, All Pro. Chris Paul's got that type of ceiling, in my opinion. There's some good athleticism to go with everything that he brings to the table as and being instinctual as well as intelligent, but he's good and he impresses. It just jumps, the tape jumps. So jumping in here, you can see he reads well and then attacks. Boom, flow to ball carrier immediately. Quarterback breaks outside the pocket, he's chasing it down. And I love that they put him at Ole Miss in a lot of spy roles because they know he's athletic enough to do so. That's just a pull the trigger and go. Phenomenal as well. For me, I love when I see linebackers who can do something like this. He walks up, shows like he's going to come off the edge, comes back, boom, interception. So you're baiting the quarterback, and I love that teams and defensive coordinators can do that, but you can only do that with certain guys like him. You know what I'm saying? So this is cool too because he scrapes over the top and then makes the play by himself. I love watching that too. You read your first gap. If nothing comes or it closes, you then bounce outside to a secondary. And I just like that. I think that he does that often and kind of shows why he's a guy who I would value and why the NFL is valuing at that middle linebacker spot. Another dude that I think could also kind of flip-flop out to weak or, outside linebacker spots. He doesn't have the size necessarily to be playing out there often. I think he's more of a traditional middle of the field linebacker, and we could use that too because I think Jack Campbell for the Detroit Lions could absolutely step out to an outside linebacker spot as well. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I think Jack is there to stay. I just think that Chris Paul is going to come in if we were to draft him, and he would be a complement to Jack and then potentially be playing alongside of Jack. I don't think that he'd be taking Jack's position. Jack Campbell is a stud linebacker and will be for many years. So that's the film on Chris Paul. I love him, and that's why I got him there at number 2. Number 3 is another guy, and these first 3 dudes, I wouldn't be mad if they were taken, ahead of each other. Like, I've just got them in how I saw on film. And Barrett Carter, okay? This man right here is someone that I feel like great value for where I think he'll go in the draft. I think that if the Lions need to address, which I think it is arguable they should, address other positions higher than where he's at, I think that he could fall late second, early third round. And to me, that's good value for money finding a guy like this. 82 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 interception, no forced fumbles, but a fumble recovery, okay? Iron Man type of linebacker. This dude goes sideline to sideline. He is athletic. And he is cerebral in how he, basically diagnoses and analyzes what's in front of him at that mic spot, okay? Looking at the film, you're going to see that he does not mess around. If he sees something, he's instinctual about it, he goes, pulls the trigger, right? Boom. Immediately read wide receiver screen, went right outside. There was no confusion about it. Underneath the block, got there and made the play. And I just love seeing guys like this. They're exciting to watch, okay? And I ultimately think that with good coaching, and we definitely have that, we got Kelvin Shepard, man, who's going to be rolling that defense as the defensive coordinator this year. And he's a linebackers coach at heart, played linebacker in the league, great football player himself. I think that type of mentorship, the type of leadership to any of the guys that I've already addressed, but more so for Chris Paul and Barrett Carter, I think those guys, their ceilings are high, very high. I don't think that the potential for these guys is really capped right now. These dudes look great football players. So I'm excited about that, man. And watching, both Barrett Carter and Chris Paul Jr.'s film was fun. It was, everything I saw, highlight tapes, simple ACC network stuff. It was really cool to see what these guys are able to do. The skill sets that they've cultivated, were born with, whatever. It's awesome to watch it all come on, right here in front of you, right in front of your eyes. You get to see guys who are at the top of their game in college now get an opportunity to potentially become really good pro football players. And I think the Lions would benefit from a dude like Barrett Carter. Honestly, I think that he is someone who is special. This man. I know a lot of people, including PFF, have Carson higher. Well, they value him higher because of the year he had. I mean, there's nothing short of extraordinary in terms of the numbers that you see there. 136 tackles is a great season for anybody. But when you put into context that it was his first year starting at Mike linebacker, that's incredible. A reason I'm knocking him, and I know it's unfair potentially of me to do so, the reason I'm knocking him is because of that. He, for whatever reason, I think it's going to take him some time to transition to an NFL Mike linebacker spot. He could also roll outside, play outside linebacker. I think that's a very real possibility. So you got more versatility in someone like Carson because he is an insane athletic individual. He does have a little bit more length to him, and I think that's absolutely a possibility. I don't know if I would prioritize him over some of the other guys that I've put in this list, right? Say a Chris Paul, Demetrius Knight, Parrot Carter. I prioritize them because I think they could come in and make immediate contributions, whereas I think Carson, not that he couldn't, I think he'll absolutely find the field in a special teams aspect, and then he'll probably get some rotational play as he's learning the game. But I think those other three are a little bit more plug and play. That's just my opinion on where he's at with that. So looking at film, though, you can see why there's a lot of hype around him, why he had such a productive season. He goes, man. He's a high motor individual, and a lot of what he does is behind the line of scrimmage, and I love that. I love that he doesn't want you to come to him. He wants to bring the fight to you. Now, obviously, when he's in pass coverage, he's doing his assignment, and as you can see, he's an effective pass coverage linebacker, but I love that he wants to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. As a defensive coach myself, I want to take the line of scrimmage from the offense every play. Every play. And if my D-line can get behind that line of scrimmage or disrupt the line of scrimmage, that opens things up for linebackers. And as you can see, Carson is one of those guys who wants to bring the fight to the point of contact. I do love the way he plays football. That's why he's on this top 5 list when there's a ton of linebackers that could have made it, right? This is a deep draft for defensive prospects, in my opinion. And Carson is a stud, but I think he's more of a project. I think that if a team, not to say that the Detroit Lions absolutely need a Mike linebacker right now or a middle linebacker, but we saw depth issues on the defense because when guys got hurt, we started going to dudes who, and I mean this with all due respect because I love my Detroit Lions and the roster that we had, but you got guys that probably shouldn't be relied upon as heavily that we had to rely on. We just didn't have the depth. And so I think that in those moments, a guy like Carson would absolutely make sense. A guy like Barrett Carter absolutely makes sense. Chris Paul Jr. absolutely makes sense because they can come in and they can do things like this. They've got the tape, they've got the skill set to go out there and show that they could be a competitor in the league and can bring good secondary, play to a defense that either needs it because they want to give their guys some rest, or ultimately just wants it because they want to get more rotation in, right? And don't tell me Jack Campbell, well, he probably wouldn't want to come off the field. But as a coach, you would love to see those guys get a little bit more rotation so they stay fresher, right? Rounding out the list, Cody Simon is someone who I had higher in my list, but I ultimately felt like just the guys that I put in front of him had a little higher of a ceiling. I think Cody Simon is a proven product. I think that he's going to be a good linebacker in the league. He's definitely going to be a guy who gets rotational play without question. Does he become like a perennial Pro Bowler, a perennial, I don't know. No one knows. The future is the future, right? I think Cody Simon absolutely deserves to be in this top 5 because he is a good linebacker and would be a good draft pick for the Detroit Lions, especially if, say, we pick him up in a 3rd, 4th round. If we trade out of the 1st round and pick up an additional pick in those middle rounds and a Cody Simon sitting there and we addressed other more pressing needs with better players, I have no problem going Cody Simon because of what he can do. 112 tackles, 7 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, sideline to sideline. You see the film, you see the tape. As a Michigan fan, I saw it, right there in real life in the game. The guy is a menace. He's kind of a problem, and I love that. But that's college. right? You got to be able to kind of look and see, all right, well, what does he have in college that will ultimately transition to the league and make him that much better, right? Make him that much more valuable to a program that needs somebody at that spot. And he's got those things. Don't get me wrong. I just think that the guys that I put in front of him have more and a higher ceiling. But look at the film, because I want you to see, I don't just kind of say all these things about how, well, I don't know if he's as good as the other guys. He's good, very good. And I would love if the Lions drafted him. I just wouldn't prioritize him at a higher draft pick than, say, a third or fourth round. I wouldn't. If we picked up Barrett Carter or Chris Paul Jr. in the second, I wouldn't be upset with that. I wouldn't. I think those guys have higher ceilings. So looking at the film, you see him read and react very well. And he is, like I said, true sideline to sideline, man. Good speed, good shift, fluid hips. He's got good coverage for a middle linebacker as well, which is nice, because sometimes you get stuck in the run stop, right? These guys are just true anvils, walls in the middle, and I don't think that he's that guy. I think that he is truly a versatile, like, jack-of-all-trades type middle linebacker and can make those plays. That's why I think that he'll get play at special teams. That's why I think that he'll get some good rotational play in the league. And who knows, maybe he proves me wrong, right? And becomes some kind of stud middle linebacker that's a perennial Pro Bowler. Awesome. Awesome. I have highlighted somebody who is going to be a great player in the league. That's what I'm looking to do. I want to make sure that, like, when I'm looking at film and I'm watching these highlights and I'm doing some research on these guys because I love ball, I'm cool with him being a stud. I just don't know if I'd prioritize him over some of the other guys. But I'd take him. Fourth round, third round. Shit, if he dropped to the fifth round, he's there. Appreciate you guys watching the video, man. As always, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I love doing these videos. I love putting this stuff together and getting it out there for everybody. Detroit fans, let me know, man. Where are you guys at? What do you think? Are you guys excited for the draft? Next video is coming out here pretty soon, and I'm going to be throwing out there another position group. So stay tuned, and let me know what you guys think. Till next time, man. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you guys stopping by.